I don't have my t-shirt on.
Where's your shirt?
It's in the car.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You failed.
I did.
While we're on that subject, I want to give a shout out to our full screen representative, Pear.
Hi, Pear.
Pear, I appreciate going to the theaters at iPick, watching Ouija Origin of Evil for free, where we got a pizza, popcorn, and a free alcohol beverage.
Yeah.
And of course, a free screening of Ouija Origin of Evil, which we're about to review.
Oh, and these
Thank you, Pear.
flashlights.
Now, if you have to... Oh, and the flashlights, too. And if you have to give a criticism, I've been told you have to say at least 3 positive things before you give the criticism. That's a lot of people you guys represent at full screen who were there.
Oh, no.
Who don't like to shut up during a movie.
Yeah, it was a kind of a talkative audience. A little bit.
I am so happy
like living
to
room
be
style.
amongst other content creators who are also partnered with Full Screen. Quifa, Ouija Origin. So we saw the movie Ouija Origin of Evil. This movie is a sequel to the awesome 2014 film that everyone really adored. For sure, there's a lot of great things in it. For starters, I mean, I feel like when you talk about great horror films, you usually end up saying the same stuff. Usually, like great shots and other stuff. But yeah, I mean, there is some really cool shots in this movie, though. There's some great framing, some great mixing with the focus in the shots. There's plenty of shots in there, especially in like the first half of the film, where they do that kind of thing that like James Wan's sort of known to do, where there's like, oh, the monster's in the background, but it's so subtle that the audience has to pay attention to catch it. Yeah. And like there was one specific moment that I saw the monster, and then John was like, What's going on? What happened?
There was at least one of those that was so subtle I must have missed it.
Yeah. Because all you see are the eyes. Then once you capture the eyes, then you see the shape of the body, and it's really clever because it's very much in the out of. It's like kind of out of focus, but it's just in like There's some cool camera techniques in this film. There's a lot of like homage style to films that took place back then.
They shot it like a late 60s movie. They got all the split diopter shots and those like slow pans and zooms. They did bother to make it feel retro in the styling as well as the art direction. It has kind of that restrained style to me, where it's like, it's not going crazy, it's not quite as bonkers as a James Wan film can get, but it's still, having fun with itself, it's still enjoying being a period piece.
And a lot of people are really crediting the acting on this one, and I think the acting is fantastic in this movie. You got 4 main characters in here. I'm not good with remembering names, so I'm just reading from IMDb directly here. They had a priest in there, Father Tom, who should have just been called John Humphrey, because if John was a priest, that's who he would have been.
In this particular movie, or just in general?
Just in general. Just imagine that's the kind of priest you need. It's a really cool guy that women still want to sleep with. But nah, man, you're committed to this priesthood thing. And the family they had, I like the approach they took with the family, because if you guys have seen the trailer, it's revealed in there, which kind of sucks that they do that, but...
That's the problem with a lot of
these. Because the thing that sucks with the trailer is that when you see the opening of the film will be way more effective, and while it still is an enjoyable opening, you can't help but be like, well, I saw the trailer, so I know what's really going on here. That they're con artists. And if you haven't seen the trailer, I just gave it away for you.
I actually didn't remember the trailer very well. I figured it was coming, kind of, but I wasn't certain. Yeah. I was like, maybe not.
Yeah, but it was a cool, nice touch on like, because normally when you see a horror film and then the father has recently passed in the family, usually they're just a very dour family who are probably moving to someplace else, trying to start fresh. But this is just them. They're broke and they're trying to survive and keep their house alive and stuff. In the family, you have Annalise Basso. Then you have Elizabeth Reeser, I think is her name, playing Alexander, the mom of the family, the lead of the con artist family. This is really like Matchstick Men.
Well, I mean, she's a psych. She has a business as a psychic medium, so it's not like they're like running around a carnival or something like that. This is their life now. This is how they make a living, off her being a mystic. I'm so used to seeing her on Mad Men that I was kind of excited to...
She was only in a few episodes of Mad Men.
Yeah, that's true, but they were the ones I saw the most recently. No, I think she does a terrific job in this movie.
Well, let's finish listing off the cast here. Annalise Basso as Paulina Zander. She was really good, too. What I appreciate more and more in horror movies is maybe when they introduce a character who's like, not such an original character, but they make them better and more developed.
So they just play like a real person.
They make the archetype of that character work, you know, rebellious teen daughter. They made it in such a better depth where it didn't feel like you're watching something typical. You still feel like you're watching a different kind of teenage daughter.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't forget to flesh out its characters, and it doesn't forget that their lives are important to the story. It's not tied in that sort of like, oh, it was destined to be this way sort of way, but it's like, this really does affect their lives and who they are as people. And like, it's nice that they still paid attention to that all the way through, you know?
Yeah, and then the final one is the little girl, the main little girl.
Yeah.
Can't trust little girls in horror films. Lulu Wilson playing Doris. I feel like child actors, they get their best breaks when they're in fucking horror films. Little girls in horror movies, they either do like an awful job or they do like a really good job, like something super effective.
Yeah.
And this little girl was really good. The time when I really admired her, the little girl has this speech at one point where she's describing a strangling and what happens to someone when they start to die from being choked to death. Her delivery on it was really fucking awesome. I was really impressed with how she did it, because she wasn't just, I'm a creepy little girl, and I just like the typical cliche thing. There was something. There's an extra layer to her that, although her character was possessed, something about her seemed to also kind of like it. Like it was an interesting mix. Like you couldn't at that moment. I couldn't really tell. Is this the demon talking, or is this just her and part of her that likes to communicate with the thing that's possessed in her? You know.
Or what is the mixture of the two?
Exactly.
I guess,
So
like,
that was, I like.
It seems like she is actually a medium. You know, like for real.
And even like the boyfriend cliche character of the daughter with the boyfriend. There was something about the role where I'm like, you know what? I like the guy. He's a charming guy.
Yeah. It takes a lot of these tropes that we're used to, but it plays them really, really well, and it gives you an interesting version of all of them that is fresh, that feels like an authentic choice.
Yeah,
and so it's like, it doesn't reinvent, it's that old saying, it's like, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it takes all these tropes and makes them more interesting, gives them their own sort of unique character feeling. Like, it does take time for its characters to really be involved.
Okay, so we established plenty of good things. Criticisms now. One way to look at it is to just go, this isn't one of those films that doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does its execution very well on what it's working with. Yes, absolutely. At the same time, though, that is part of my complaint with it, was that I felt that this easily could have been something that adds something fresh, adds something new. And for me, I really felt like, although there's effective moments and the writing of the characters is good, there's a lot of great things in this film. And I'd say overall, it's a pretty good movie.
I think it's a good studio horror movie. I mean,
yeah, everything in there just seemed like this is taken from this horror movie. This is taken from this horror movie. This is taken from this horror movie.
That's the double-edged sword of doing something like that. It's like I don't feel it as much as you do, but I do agree. It's like there were a number of times where I was even watching it and going, "Oh, okay, I can feel inspiration for. I'm reminded of this now, or I'm reminded of a different movie." I was reminded a little bit of like American Horror Story at certain points.
Oh, totally.
I've seen that lately.
One of my feelings was I felt like it could have gone a little bit more. And I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted from it. That's what I love about a horror film, is I'm not entirely sure what I want. All I know is that they just got to deliver something that'll provide me with the feeling. By the time the movie was done, I felt like I was watching a movie that was building up for something much bigger throughout the whole thing. With what they gave us, even the reveal of like who are the ghosts that are doing the possessions and the haunting. Like I was like, I've heard that explanation of a ghost before. It's like they took archetypes that I've seen in other horror movies before, and they just did a really good job with what was given to them. Sometimes there's an overuse of some CGI in there.
That did kind of pull me out at certain points, and I'm conflicted because it's like I like the idea, but there are times where the modernness almost gets in the way of everything else being a pretty nice period piece.
Yeah.
So like when there is an abundance of CGI, like face warping, at least I was a little kind of pulled out.
And there are some things, like especially in like the last 15-20 minutes of the film, where by the time it was over, I just had like these questions. And I'm like, well, this just doesn't add up. Like I can't give it away because it'll just be a total spoiler. There are things that happen where especially the last shot of the movie. The last shot of the movie just left me with so many questions. Based off of like what had just happened a few minutes ago. If you guys watch it, you might figure out what I'm talking about. I felt it could have just gone a little bit crazier with its story. Not in terms of just visual scares or whatever. I don't know, there was something there that was just missing for me, and I can't quite put my finger on it right now. It felt a little bit like there was like an act missing. Yet it felt like just the right amount of time of the movie. Like, it was weird. It might be because I'm like so into American Horror Story right now, and I've been binge watching seasons. I'm kind of used to like watching horror things that are inspired by other horror things, but they go fucking balls out by the end, you know. Like,
but this movie's bread and butter isn't being balls out. The movie they tried to make is a more restrained kind of, you know, slightly elegant horror movie. It feels like a ghost story. It's short, you know. It's a ghost story, and
that's also fair though. That's also true.
Whether or not you're okay with that decides which version of that you say.
I don't know. I mean, normally when we shoot our reviews, we usually just don't come back right after and talk about them.
Yeah.
We usually like give ourselves like a day to absorb them so we can really know how we feel.
We can actually talk like people.
When it came to the movie, I will say everything that you really do go to a horror movie for, you're pretty much gonna get. There's a lack of true originality for me in this film. With that being said, though, I still think that there's a lot of very effective things they do, and they toy with things that might not seem original at first, but then they like the way they mess with it or the way they have fun with its tools makes it somewhat original.
To me, it had a sort of genuine quality in the way it played out, in the way it sort of sculpted itself. You don't want to look at everything and go, well, for what it is, it did it really well. I think this movie won me a lot of times by not only doing well, but like excelling. Like, not only is it an effectively put together ghost story, it's also got great performances that I was actually impressed by, I was actually really invested in, and they really paid attention to the story. I mean, there are questions that I do have towards the end that were a little unclear to me, but they really seemed like they put a lot of effort into the story, into having, you know, an interesting little family. It's 3 female leads, you know? It's like, it's a different kind of... It's not the usual, like, father, mother, and young son that we're used to seeing. Like, they took some time to make some things distinct and different. It's really well put together on top of all that. There were times when I noticed the editing was really interesting, or they were choosing interesting shots.
Some great sound effects, too.
Some great sound effects. It's like, there are things that I think are legit great in so many different parts of this that I liked it a lot still. It doesn't reinvent the wheel. And that's fair, you know.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I think John and I should use our new rating system.
You sure?
Yeah.
It's the rating system.
Yeah, this is the defined rating system,
Good,
John.
fair, poor.
Yeah.
Your options have options, though.
John, please, let's not insult the rating system.
Okay, fine. Decent is 3 options.
Yeah, because they all mean the same thing, you know?
But maybe fantastic or amazing or great all mean the same thing to somebody. Where's the line, man?
Well, we can combine fantastic, amazing, and great. Just put good beneath that one.
But now the ratio of your scale has changed.
John, I'm just trying to come up with a very original... I feel like people are just trying to get too clever with their words these days. What the fuck is a B- mean? How fuck? Come on, Chris Stuckman. When I hear B- like, what is this?
It's average debt.
Maybe. Good time if you're drunk. What? Rating system doesn't make... What's a schmo? What does 3 out of 5 schmoes mean? Look. This one's pretty good.
I think it's really good. I think it's really good.
Yeah, we should add like a category of, you know, like above good. We should put like really good. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's somewhere between good and great.
You put options on your options, but you didn't put options between
John, there's a lot of wiggle room with the rating system. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you're new to the channel, you can subscribe today. Become a reject.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
This movie was produced by Blumhouse.
It was.
That's why John was in full support of everything about this film. So John's 100% biased during this whole review. Facebook.com/Blumhouse. He's all on top of that shit all day long. He's just on Facebook all day. And then he's on Facebook all day on The Real Rejects as well. Yeah. And he's Reasons to Jerry on Twitter and Instagram. I'm the Greg Alba on Twitter and Instagram. I want you to know, kids, that if you're watching this video, it's okay. You're not doing anything illegal.
That's a suspicious thing to say.